Okay, we're going to open the agenda for the Architectural Board of Review of August 23rd of 2021. Start with our roll call, please.
All right, thank you. This is Mary. I'll go ahead and take the roll call, and I'll start with Chair Moore.
Here.
Vice Chair Six is absent. Board Member Anderson.
Oops.
Here.
Sorry, Miss.
Oh,
Mr. Six
I'm
just
here.
arrived.
All right, Vice Chair Six is here. Board Member Anderson.
Here.
Board Member Black.
Here.
Board Member Noon.
Here.
Board Member Olson.
Here.
And Board Member Whalen is absent, and we have a quorum. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that. And now we can open public comment. This is general public comment. So any member of the public may address the board for up to 2 minutes on any subject within our jurisdiction that is not scheduled on this agenda for public discussion. And if you would like to, you can follow the instructions on the screen.
Thank you, Chair Moore. At this time, I do see, and board members, I do see that there are several members of the public who have logged in, and one member of the public has raised their hand. Actually, they have lowered their hand. I do believe they're here to speak on the first or the second item after the discussion. Well, they've raised their hand again. Let me give them an opportunity to speak here.
Great.
Thank you. Mr. Meester, Dr. Meester, I am going to unmute you. You can unmute yourself and you'll have up to 2 minutes to speak. And this is for an item that's not on today's agenda.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Thank you. Well, I really appreciate that you gave me the chance to talk here. We had a very interesting Zoom meeting with the Builder team on Thursday, and we learned really bad things about the meeting, about the plan at Millpass.
I'm sorry, sir. It sounds like this is specific to the item
That's right.
is on today's agenda. So at this time, we're taking general public comment for anything that's not on today's agenda. So you'll have an opportunity to talk specifically about that in a few minutes.
I'm so sorry.
No problem. Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else in the public that would like to address the board?
Thank you, Chair Moore and board members. At this time, I don't see that any other member of the public has raised their hand indicating they'd like to speak on general public comment. Mary, have you received any written general public correspondence?
Thank you, Christina, and board members. We did receive a letter from Christina Wong, and it was regarding an item not on today's agenda. Back to you.
Okay, thank you. So we will close public comment and go to approval of the minutes for July 26th.
So moved.
Okay, we have a first. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Second by Mr. Black. Any discussion on that? No? Let's take our vote, please.
All right, thank you. I'll start with Chair Moore.
Yes.
Vice Chair Six.
Yes.
Board Member Anderson.
Yes.
Board Member Black.
Yes.
Board Member Noon.
Yes.
Board Member Olson.
Yes.
And Board Member Whalen. Board Member Whalen.
Yes.
All right, the motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now the consent calendar for August 2nd. If we could.
Move we accept as presented.
All right, and I will second that.
Oh, give a second.
And any discussion? No? Okay, let's take a vote.
All right, I'll start with Chair Moore.
Yes.
Vice Chair Six,
Yes.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Black,
Yes.
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Olson,
Yes.
and Board Member Whalen.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then we're moving on to the 16th, please.
Move we accept as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Six. Any discussion? No? Okay, let's take a vote.
Okay, so we have Chair Moore,
Yes.
Vice Chair Six,
Yes.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Black,
Yes.
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Olson,
Yes.
and Board Member Whalen.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries. Thank you.
All right, and now August 23rd, which is today. So we'll have to read, if we could read those out, that'd be helpful.
Thank you, Chair Moore and board members. Today's consent calendar was reviewed by Chair Moore and board members Whalen. They reviewed 17 South Milpas Street, and they continued the item indefinitely back to consent with the following comments. The colors, materials, and spire proposed seem to be acceptable as presented. The applicant shall study ways of further integrating the base of the tower of the cell tower element into the design so that it appears the tower is an actual part of the architecture. And third comment, photo simulations shall be updated for the current design.
Okay, I would say we need to edit the second the second comment. So we say the applicant shall study ways of further integrating the base of the cell tower element into the design.
I move we accept as presented with that addition by Chairman Moore.
Okay, and I was also going to say on comment number 3, the I guess that's fine. The photograph should be photographic simulations. I think is more accurate. Okay,
Chair Moore,
Second.
Mr. Whalen, go ahead.
on number 3, the photo simulation shall be updated to reflect the current design.
Okay, I think that's better. Okay, so Mr. Olson, you,
Move we accept as amended.
okay, and then was it Vice Chair Six? Did I hear you second?
Accepted as amended. Seconded as.
Great, so let's take our vote.
Okay, I'll start with Chair Moore,
Yes.
Vice Chair Six,
Yes.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Black,
Yes.
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Olson,
Yes.
and Board Member Whalen.
And yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
All right. Any announcements, requests by applicants for continuances and withdrawals, future agenda items, and appeals?
Thank you, Chair Moore and board members. I just wanted to announce that we have one more week of the August consent calendar rotation where we'll have Chair Moore and board member Whalen reviewing, and then we'll skip to our September and October rotation, which is our board members Noon and board member Olson. I didn't have any other announcements.
Okay, thank you.
Will we have a landscape member on that consent?
Thank you, Board Member Olson. Yes, Board Member Black has been in agreement for anytime there's a landscape item to also be included in the consent calendar for review. And he's been really great about joining when we have landscaping items.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Black, for being willing to attend. Okay, any subcommittee reports? I don't know if anyone's been meeting, but it looks like a no. Okay, so we can move on from general business and to item number 1, if we're ready. Looks like we are. Okay, so this is the Santa Barbara Design Standards Work Group. It's a discussion item. And after an introduction, the board is requested to appoint 2 representatives to serve on the Santa Barbara Design Standards Work Group. And it looks like we have planning staff here. Ms. Dicey, welcome.
Thank
And,
you, Chair
go ahead.
Moore. Should I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Okay, good afternoon, Chair Moore, members of the board. So yes, I'm here today to request 2 representatives to serve on a new Santa Barbara Design Standards Work Group. This is a follow-on to the previous effort we did specifically to Senate Bill 35 and the Objective Design Standards Project. With most of you heard a presentation about that. So we were awarded a grant from the State Department of Housing and Community Development to continue this effort to create objective design standards for all multi-unit housing projects. We selected a consultant to work with us on this project. They're Opticos Design, and we want to start up a work group to work with us on to provide input and advice throughout the course of this project for about a year. The work group meetings, we've scheduled about 6 of them to start in September this year and end approximately October, November next year. So commitment to this work group would be attending those meetings and providing input to staff and the consultant throughout the process. The meetings will probably occur on a Friday, usually one of the Fridays when the city is in business, and they will be open to the public. So I can answer any questions if anyone has any, or just any discussion you have, or just take your representatives.
Mr. Whalen, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Dice. Could you briefly talk about the scope of the standards, just a little more specifically about what the project entails to describe or leave as a planning document?
Okay, Board Member Whalen, sure. So the grant and the RFP that we put up for the consultant and the whole general direction of this project is to continue to work on improvements throughout the city to facilitate and streamline the production of multi-unit housing. So the idea is that once these standards are adopted through the regular process going through boards and commissions, planning commission and city council, these would be the standards by which future projects that involved multi-unit housing or mixed use would be held to. And the scope of the project or the project area is roughly the same as the areas that are subject to the average unit density size incentive program. So it's those areas of the city that allow multi-unit housing. And the idea behind it is to just provide design expectations that are clear and understandable for applicants and staff. Does that explain enough of it, or did you want to know a little bit more?
Well, I think that will do for now. You send out some advanced material on that. This was just for the the benefit of my own edification. No, thank you. That's fine.
Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from board members?
I have a quick question.
Yes, go ahead.
So, would there be a landscape architectural component to these guidelines?
Board Member Black, that's a great question. We've identified landscaping as something that we think needs more work and some input in these guidelines. So yes, there would be a landscaping component.
Okay, good, thank you.
So having myself participated in the last round that was more specific to the downtown area and El Pueblo Viejo, it was a good process, a good discussion, and really the board members that were involved were really there to just give, to try and give concrete examples of what was acceptable in Santa Barbara so that you could create essentially a checklist of items so that if you were making an application with a design that actually and had a site and all of the other constraints that come along with this process, you could just simply look at the checklist and show how you were complying with these design standards. So it'd be really beneficial to have, I think, a landscape professional involved, as well as people that are interested in not only an El Pueblo Viejo style of architecture, but are familiar with other types of design that might be applicable outside of the downtown area. And that's a question for staff as well. Is this effort going to piggyback off of the El Pueblo Viejo oriented design standards that were created?
Yes, Chair Moore, that's a great question. I meant to, when I was explaining the project, we've talked to the consultants about including different styles in this next effort. So as you know, the last effort was focused on Spanish colonial revival, and they're still working with us and interviewing staff, and we'd love to hear from you as well on, I would call it like a palette of styles that we would work from, so that applicants are not only doing Spanish colonial revival, but there's other styles that work better in other areas of the city. So yes, we will be looking at areas outside of EPV.
Okay. Any other
Chair
questions?
Moore?
Yes.
No. Chair Moore, not a question, so I'll wait if there's any other questions.
Okay, doesn't look like there are any others. Go ahead.
Chair Moore, I participated in the consultant selection committee and would be very honored and willing to continue my participation in the actual work group if Ms. Deist would have me after her experience of me on this committee.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think having participated in the past effort, I would encourage somebody else to step in and contribute. So I'm gonna look for somebody else to join Vice Chair 6.
Well, Mr. Chair, since there is a need for a landscape architectural or input, I'd be happy to participate if
Okay.
needed.
All right. Okay, well, so far it looks like we have 2 volunteers. And so is this something we need to vote on, or we just take our volunteers?
Chair Moore, I think there's no need for a vote as long as there's 2 representatives that are interested. I think we could just leave it at that.
Okay. Is there anybody else before we leave this? Is anybody else interested?
Chair Moore,
Yes, Mr. Olson.
I would just like to endorse both of those candidates. I think it's generous of both of them, and they're both quite capable. So I appreciate their generosity.
Absolutely.
Chair Moore, should we appoint a follow-up or a
Backup?
secondary in case I decide to go to Mexico?
In case Mr. Black doesn't come back from Hawaii.
Yeah.
I don't know, I
I'd be
guess,
happy-
okay, yeah,
I'd be
Mr.
happy
Wong.
Serve as an alternate.
Excellent. Okay, so staff, that's our recommendation. So we have Vice Chair Six, Board Member Black, and then Board Member Wayland as a backup if need be.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Pardon the interruption. Actually, this was a staff error. We forgot to open up public comment for this item. If we could do that now.
Okay. Sorry about that. We will open public comment for this item. And if any member of the public would like to address the board regarding this item, you can follow the instructions on screen and raise your hand.
Well, thank you, Chair Moore. I don't see that any member of the public has raised their hand indicating that they would like to speak on this item. Mary, did we receive any written public correspondence for this discussion item?
Thank you, Christina and board members. No written public comment was received for this item. Back to you, Chair Moore.
Okay, thank you. So we'll close public comments for that item. And we can move on. All right, how are we doing on time here? Are we? So next item is on at 3:30. Perfect. So we can keep going to item number 2, which is 421 South Milpas Street. This is a continued item for concept review. This is a revised project description. This is a proposal for improvements and accessibility upgrades to the Blue Sands Inn. Exterior alterations to the hotel, include constructing a new stair tower with storage below, replacement of the covered entry porch roof with a new upper deck, a new Juliet balcony, window and door improvements, and new lighting fixtures. The project includes removal of some existing landscaping, including a Canary Island palm tree, and enhancements to the pool area, including new permeable paving, a new spa, trellis, pool lift, and outdoor amenities. Additional site improvements are proposed along the Milpas Street frontage of the hotel, including a new permeable paver patio with a tempered glass windscreen, a new planter surrounding the patio, relocation of a fencing gate, and new ADA ingress-egress ramps with handrails. Interior upgrades are also proposed. Staffing and officer review and approval of a front setback modification is required for improvements in the required 20-foot front setback and a coastal development permit for conversion of the manager's bedroom to a hotel room. City Council approved a variance on July 20th of 2021, allowing for improvements located within the 10-foot Milpas Street widening setback. No final appealable decision will be made at this hearing. This project requires compliance with the project compatibility findings, the urban design guidelines, and outdoor lighting design guidelines. We last saw it on June 1st of this year. Okay, and it looks like staff has some words for us before we start.
Well, thank you, Chair Moore. I was actually going to introduce Ms. Plummer as the case planner for this project.
Thank you, and thanks, Chair Moore. So as you noted in the project description, this is an additional concept review for proposed improvements at the Blue Sands Inn. And as you'll recall, on June 1st, you saw overall hotel improvements at the project site, as well as a one-time pre-application consultation for a patio located in the 10-foot Milpas Street widening setback. Since that review, the project has gone to City Council and received approval of a variance to allow those improvements in the Milpas Street widening setback. And the purpose of today's hearing is to get specific comments regarding the aesthetic supportability of that patio area. as the project was only under a one-time pre-application consultation, and so those comments aren't binding from the June 1st hearing. We will have when you go over the minutes, we'll have both the comments from the overall project as well as the patio improvements for reference only. And then in terms of what we're asking you to consider at this hearing, I'll just ask that you'll include in any motion the project compatibility criteria and any comments specifically about aesthetic appropriateness of the patio area. As the next step for this project would be to go to the staff hearing officer for review of a front setback modification. And I'll be here for any questions throughout the meeting if you have any. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And just before you go away, so let's review the scope of our review again today, just so it's crystal clear. So just with some fine points, what exactly are we to review today? What are we focusing on again?
Thank you, Chair Moore. So the specific element for this discussion is the patio area, because we don't have formal comments about that for the record in order for it to go forward to the staff hearing officer. So any comments about the location of the patio, about materials, with the understanding that this is going to come back for project design approval at a later point in time. And then also the applicant team will cover we'll cover some of the other elements of the project and any updates that they've had since the last review. But again, the purpose of this hearing is really the patio and to get comments on that.
Okay, so if there are comments on other areas of the project, that's fine, but
Yes.
it's really not the purpose of today's hearing. Okay,
Yes.
great.
Chair Moore,
Yes,
Chair Moore,
go ahead.
question for staff. Did the Planning Commission have any specific comments that would guide us in our review?
Apologies, Commissioner Six, are you referencing City Council and their review of the Milford Street widening setback?
City Council.
No, they were supportive of the improvements. They had your comments from the one-time pre-application consultation, and I'll leave it to the applicant a little bit more to kind of discuss, how they've addressed your comments from that, as well as some comments from City Council. But overall, they were supportive of the variance request to allow that area to be improved, with the understanding, of course, that if at such point any of the patio needs to be removed to allow the setback area for the street to be widened, that would happen. So that is important to be considered. That area is able to be widened at some point. So the materials for that would matter in that case. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so if we could have the applicants introduce themselves and then take us through what has transpired.
Sure, this is Trish Allen with Suzanne Elledge, Planning and Permitting.
And Don Cherry, architect for the project. And
Chris, are you muted?
Trish can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like Trish to just outline, we did meet with the neighbor, and we wanted to outline a little bit about that relative to the tower element, the stair tower element. And although I know this meeting isn't necessarily about the tower element and the stairs, but since we did make changes to the design in light of our conversations with the neighbors, we wanted you to be aware of that. So Trish is going to explain that really quickly, and then I'll jump back on the presentation.
I'll go very fast. Thanks, Don. Thank you, everybody. Yes, we're back with this project, and thank you, Ms. Plummer, for explaining sort of the procedure. It's a little bit confusing. We had really two project phases for a good reason at the time. And so when we came to you in June, the front outdoor patio was sort of its own project, and we wanted to get your comments on that design before we went to city council to ask for the setback variance. So that that little patio out front needs quite a few approvals, and we're happy that the city council was able to approve that back in July. They had to make findings with it, but they absolutely understood that the design aspect of that is subject to the ABR's purview. But they did agree that the desired need for an outdoor common space dining in this case is seen as by the city council as a critical component of maintaining hotels in the city. Further, we stated to them, which they put in their resolution that I'm reading from, the applicant has stated that not securing the area with a fence would be a hardship in their use and portion of this property. So they saw the overall, benefit of activating the street and that kind of thing. So as a matter of procedure with our application, that one-time concept review, those aren't binding comments. Now we've merged our project for all the improvements, one project to move forward to the next decision maker after today's review would be at the staff hearing officer, as Ms. Plummer explained. Now, backing up to our, again, referencing the June hearing, the neighbors immediately to the east of the property were present, and they made public comment at that hearing, verbal comment, and it turned out that they had submitted some written comment that didn't get into the record at our first concept hearing at the beginning of the year in January. So it was really unfortunate that we were hearing from them at that point in time, and just sort of disappointing, I guess would be the word. So we received their written comment after the June hearing, and we all went through it. And since then, we've been studying the stair tower that Ms. Sherry will walk you through. So we did meet with them last week to show them, really to go over our site constraints and explain the reduction of that stair tower. And of course, they're here in the hearing to make their comment directly. So we'll walk you through that. I really think that's about it for me. Dawn, I'll turn it over to you to walk through the project changes. Thank you.
Thanks, Trish. So I think there are a couple people on the board that have not seen this site, and maybe, I don't know, maybe did not drive by. Maybe we just go to the photos really quickly that are in the submittal. Front, and just kind of run through these really quickly. This is the front. Just keep going a little bit through the side. Where the pool meets the parking lot, it's kind of a constrained site. Keep going. Again, looking at the pool area, and then the north, keep going. And this is the adjacent Santa Barbara Inn to the south. And then the lower is the view to the park from the subject parcel, keep going. And then along the driveway, next page. More from the second level. Keep going. And then this is the upper photo is the easterly neighbor, 2 windows from the upper level deck. Keep going. This is the view these are views of the eastern neighbor that we were able to get off of their VRBO or short-term rental website, so that we could get a sense of the views that they had, that their guests would have from their rear, from their windows facing the ocean. Next page.
So,
And from their kitchen and bathroom. Next page. This is a view, the top photo is a view from their upper balcony. And I want to point out on this photo that the tree behind the palm tree is one that we're proposing to remove as part of our proposal that will give them a view of the ocean. from that balcony that they currently don't have right now. The lower photo is a view from their the more northerly window of their property looking out toward the ocean, not with the stair tower, I might add. Keep going. Maybe that's it. Okay, so I wanted to just point those photos out to you so that everybody remembered this project. It's been a little while. Then I also want to remind everybody, in case I didn't mention it last time, that this project originated from the client coming to me with the desire to add a pool lift to the pool in order to be ADA compliant and not be subject to a lawsuit for not having it. So that's when we started looking at the location of where to put that pool lift. And if you go to the site plan, which is the next page, that one, you can, and zoom in on the pool area, you can see the constrained site, and you can see where we're showing the pool lift. It's number 54. And we've had to kind of maneuver our way around the existing glass enclosure to even get the ability to access that lift. And if you move your eyes over to where our tower is to the east, you'll see number 63 is the existing pool enclosure, and then number 27 is the existing stairs. There's a comment in the letter from the neighbor that says that we don't need to relocate the stair tower, which is part of our proposal, but we did look really, really closely at this. We hired David Carlson, who is our CAS consultant on this project, and we spent 3 months exhaustively studying how we can get the ADA compliance to the pool lift and maintain access around the pool, both from the lower level rooms and from the pool area itself. So right now, the eastern stairs, which are, like I said, labeled number 27, they spill out onto the common, pool patio area. And there's a pool enclosure number 36 that we're planning on removing because that 36 kind of bifurcates the lounge area and the fireplace area and our desire to really upgrade this pool experience and to keep this property competitive with regards to guest amenities with its competitors. So we're looking at a way to relocate the stairs. If you look at, without, hoping not to get too technical, but it's important to point out that it's impossible to keep the existing stairs the way they are and still maintain accessibility to the pool lift. And that's because you have to be able to get around the east side of the pool where that gray arrow is to get to the pool lift. And the other way is too narrow when it gets to the west area. And you also have to be able to maintain the exit from the lower level rooms to the parking area. And you have to be able to keep the pool enclosed and not part of that. So what we are planning on doing is still, is creating this larger access to the pool amenities. There's a new spa, a new fireplace area, and we looked at every way to move the pool. And with the drainage the way it is and the cross slope, there is no way to move the stair tower and not have to enclose it in a fire enclosed separation. So if you move the stair tower over, it has to be within the 10 feet to the east property line. So once we realized that we had to move the pool stairs, we looked at a way to enclose it, and not in the form of a wall that runs down the property line, but in the form of a more architectural feature. And that's where we came upon the pool tower. I mean, the stair tower. So in the last meeting, we were asked to decrease the mass of that to the best of our ability. And if you go to page 4, it's T1.2. T1.2 is, keep going, scroll down, scroll through the set more, down. I think it's page 4 of your submittal. Not sure exactly. It's a study of the massing reduction. That's the shadow study that we were asked to do. Since we're here, I'll talk about that. That's showing the study of solar at winter solstice. You can see that with the existing development on the east, on the left side of the page, and with the new tower element, we're still shading the neighboring property. That's what this study was. We were asked to show this, and the result is yes, the existing stairs and the tower both shade the east neighbor. But I'm still looking for the comparison of the massing reduction that I think is on page T1.2.
So it looks like we don't have that sheet. That's what he's highlighting. It's going
Like
to.
that's the most important sheet of our submittal.
Mhm.
It's a comparison of the tower the way you last saw it and our new proposal.
Okay, well, we don't, yeah, we
Well,
don't
we'll keep
have
going
that.
while you're looking for it, but I wanted to point out to the board that after a couple of months of studying the massing, we were able to actually reduce the tower massing by 21.2% and the footprint by 31.2%. We were able to do that by, if you zoom in on the tower, we were able to do it by exposing the lower portion of the tower, and so that the last 4 risers are open. And then we were able to pull the tower back in footprint. And we were also able to reduce the height of the tower to the furthest extent possible in order to still maintain drainage from the tower, and it would still be a tower. So
Dawn, I'm told that study is on page 6 of the PDF,
okay,
if you still want to show it.
I do. There it is.
Okay, there we go.
So you can see here the previous study on the left and in the upper area, and then at the lower level is the newly proposed. You can see the reductions. So and the height reduction we can see on the elevations. And I went over the shadow study, and the line of sight drawing that you were scrolling through may not be as important to show. The tower does slightly, affect very slightly. I think it's important to show this. So that's the T2.2 drawing right here that shows the previously submitted line of sight and the new one. The blue line of sight is the previously submitted tower, and the green is the new. So you can see that the line of sight increases slightly with our new design. Let's see.
Okay,
I wanted
I
to
would
point out the
suggest-
noise.
Sorry, I would suggest that we also spend some time on the front area, which is really what this
Yeah, so
hearing is
really,
to
really
focus on.
quickly, I wanted to
We've
point out that,
run- That's about 15 minutes already,
Okay,
so
sorry, guys.
get through that.
So going to the patio, we were asked, one of the comments in the last meeting was to study whether we could undulate the patio. Maybe if you go to A1.1 is an enlarged patio plan as part of our floor plan. Right there, yeah. So if you zoom in on the patio, you'll see the glass railing, and we studied whether we could undulate the patio enclosure, but it looked too busy and kind of convoluted and confusing, and a straight run for such a small patio that's such a narrow patio. You can see it better. You can see the whole patio better if you go to the renderings, which are at the beginning of the submittal. Like this, yeah, right in there. And then the page before, after that. Scroll down so we can see that whole page. And then there's a close-up of the patio on the other rendering page, which I think is right before it or after that one. All the renderings are together. Oh, well, you can stop at that previous page where we're showing the elevation of the patio enclosure, the glass enclosure. No, keep. No, yeah, it's there too. We have a detailed sheet too. That's A3.1, but that one's fine to zoom in on that one where we're showing now a curved glass top and a wrought iron cap. But it's a simpler design. And for purposes of, feeling like you're open to the outside, but also protecting the occupants of the patio from, feeling like they're safe from the passersby, but also give them the feeling of openness and also to help with the noise a little bit. We just thought we still think the glass is appropriate. That's the change that we made since the last review. And I think that's all I need to say.
There is some landscaping. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. And then Chris is going to go over the landscaping. So back to the enlarged, A1.1 shows the enlarged patio.
There you go. Yeah, I'll keep it brief since we're already over. I mean, it's very straightforward in terms of the landscape and minimal. We're keeping the two palms out front, working around them, permeable patios and, vine on the trellis, keeping as many existing plants and trees as we can, adding some more to help soften. And, as Don said, the patio is only 8 feet wide. And so just trying to break that up with undulation in that glass just didn't work. We looked at many different iterations of that, and it just really got busy and didn't seem to work well. And there was precedence up and down the waterfront for that sort of straight run look. So we stuck with that. So I think I'll just leave it at that. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, if Mr. Bolton could go back to page 2 of the PDF. I apologize, things got moved around. I think that's the render bottom right panel.
Yeah.
Just to highlight that one. Thank you very much. Just wanted the board members to see that.
Okay, thank you. With that, we will have to open public comments. And if anybody that would like to address the board regarding this specific project, you can follow the instructions on screen to raise your hand. Do we have anybody who would like to speak?
Thank you, Chair Moore. We do have several members of the public that would like to speak. Suni Mester, I'm going to unmute you. You'll need to unmute yourself, and then you'll have 2 minutes to speak on this item. Suni Mester, go ahead.
Oh, yes, thank you. We are the homeowner of the property adjacent to the Blue Sand Inn. We submitted a written email regarding our concerns. Numerous times we mentioned the issue of the stair tower, but they keep saying the wrong photo of the balcony. We have 2 balconies. The master bedroom balcony was never an issue. We are talking about the second balcony, but they never showed the right photo. The stair tower is not necessary because the existing stairway is functioning perfectly well, ingress and egress. They need that stair tower because they want to build a commercial size jacuzzi there. So they had to move the location of stairs. By putting this concrete block of the stair tower will lose the beachfront peaceful community charm, and it's not very aesthetically beautiful. And the second, the beach, the commercial size jacuzzi will raise the noise level 24 hours, 7 days a week. The motor engine will be running right next to, less than 5 feet from our second bedroom and the kitchen downstairs. And the gas fireplace, it will be right next to our master bedroom balcony. It will be emitting the gas, fuels. Why would a city approve to add that kind of gas? Already California has higher level of greenhouse gas level already. And it'll be right next to our master bedroom balcony, emitting the gas emissions. So we strongly oppose to those 3 additions.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak?
Thank you, Chair Moore. I see Dr. Meester would like to speak. Dr. Meester, I have unmuted you. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and you have 2 minutes to speak on this item. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry I bothered you in the beginning. I'm a physician, 24 years in Santa Barbara, 44 years in practice as an otolaryngologist. I'm not sure how to handle these meetings. We are really upset, and I believe that Don Sherry purposely misled the committee and us. All the pictures covering our balcony above the chimney of the fireplace, they purposely made the Photoshop on a way that you cannot appreciate that a damn chimney is heading right to our bedroom and balcony. We don't want that toxic, fire hazardous, right next to the palm tree, right blowing in our face. And we would like to get it out. The jacuzzi right next to our 2 bedrooms and below that would completely disturb our privacy. And we are reasonable people. This is completely nonsense. This is a beautiful, lovely motel or inn, what we really like. I sent a picture to you to show we love this view. We love this whole hotel since there is. And I don't want to make a party place with all kinds of loud noise. I'm an ear, nose, and throat doctor. I know that in loud environment, people have to scream and shout. This is not our interest that you destroy us with this loud sound. And there is a good reason that they never showed any numbers or pictures of the jacuzzi, the commercial size jacuzzi, what would destroy our privacy. And the tower really doesn't need to be done. It's only done because they want more space and occupy. We are the east side of the hotel. We are part of it. It's just not owned by them. I hope you will read our notes and our neighbors' notes, which was also sent to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And do we have anyone else that would like to speak?
Thank you, Chair Moore. I don't see that any other member of the public has raised their hand indicating that they would like to speak on this item. Mary, have we received any written public correspondence for this item?
Thank you, Christina and board members. We did receive 3 letters, one from Andrew and Sune Meister, another one from Louis and Nina Venegas, and a last one from Gregory Marquina. Thank you.
Okay, well then we will close public comment and go to questions from the board. Who would like to start?
I have 2 questions.
Go ahead.
Incidentally, I have no questions about the patio area, but I do have comments that I'll make when we get there. My 2 questions are, number 1, have any considerations been given to the sound that is generated by the jacuzzi and the inhabitants?
I can answer that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We are going to, of course, as a part of the approval process, be required to submit a sound study and a noise analysis of every single piece of pool equipment. And we've also, we're incorporating as much of the pool equipment, if not all of the pool equipment, in below the stairs in a vault in the stair tower, to further mitigate and not have, anything outside. And we'll be hiring David Lord, our noise analysis for that. We need comments about the tower before we can retain him to start that study.
Mr. Bolton, can we go to the site plan in that area that's being discussed so we can refer to it with questions? Thank you. Mr. Olson, do you have it? Does this help at all? If we zoom in on that area to get a little bit?
Yes. Let's just make sure that I'm seeing where it is. Is it item 35?
Item 35 is the new spa, and item 28 is the stair tower.
Yes.
And the pool equipment is proposed under the stair tower
Yes.
in the enclosure.
I don't have any further questions about the jacuzzi. I have one about the fireplace. Are there any studies for the emissions from gas fireplaces that might be helpful to the doctor and his wife?
It's a gas fireplace, so it emits heat only. We could do a lot of research online about whether gas fireplaces are harmful. This is a very simple direct vent. The chimney is strictly aesthetic. These are the same gas fireplaces that are all over the city and in every patio of every restaurant, similar to that.
That's all my questions. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Chair Moore, Richard.
Yes, go ahead.
First of all, on the patio, well, let's stay right here. On the stair tower, I don't understand why the stair tower could simply be, because all the stairs are down from the second floor, why can't you, Ms. Sherry, just continue the hip line of the higher roof down and have that hip continue to the outside, not exact corner of the stair tower, but close to the corner, and resolve the offset of the hip not hitting the corner by a decorative chimney of some sort. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Not exactly, Richard. I'm not exactly following.
Okay,
Extent
so
of the hip roof.
let's do you see the hip of the upper roof at 45 degrees?
Yeah.
The upper roof of the existing hip of the two-story motel. Right there.
Yes.
Why can't continue down, just extend it over the stair tower and maintain the planes of both pitches of your roof on either side of that hip? And granted, it doesn't hit the very corner, but you could take that off-centeredness and put a decorative chimney of some sort at the very outside corner at the very down slope of that hip. I don't understand why that wouldn't be a solution.
I think if you go to the elevations, if you go to the south elevation, you could see it better. That the stair tower, no matter how you design it, it's a stair tower. It has to be, it's a two-story element because it's a stair tower. And because, are you saying eliminate it's still is going to block their view. We actually looked at lowering it and not making it a tower at all, and just taking the hip roof off of the tower and lowering the whole thing, but it still is going to impede their view. And we thought that because it's got to be a stair tower and it has to be in that location because of having to relocate the stairs, we wanted to make it an architectural element as well. We lowered it as much as we could in order to maintain waterproofing where the existing hip meets the vertical wall, because it was higher than that. But you're saying extending the hip down over all the way, it's still gonna have the same block of their view as a mass in front, and we can't move. We looked at also moving the stair tower all the way back, but it blocks the windows of the lower level rooms, and we can't move it forward because it blocks the windows of both of the upper and lower hotel rooms facing south.
Ms. Chair,
Yeah.
this diagram, I think, you know, if the plane it were that upper roof now, and if we extend the plane of the back right there, that hand, extending that down to the property line, that slope is, you would maintain your and so forth. I don't see how why that can't be an elegant solution. I just don't, I can't see it, and it would radically 5-6 feet cut off, cut off the mass that's offensive neighbor. I just see the head heights not being a temporary, more elegant solution. But I will we can also the rear elevation. Can the rear elevation? Yeah, let's see, where is the rear elevation? It's not on here.
Can the applicant direct staff to the rear elevation?
I don't.
Yeah, right here.
I'm trying to understand what you mean by rear elevation.
The east elevation. Oh.
The east elevation. This is it. Mm-hmm.
Jerry, do you have a more detailed east elevation of the stair, or is this?
This is it.
Okay, so in the same light, with that hip that's down, you will make your head height clearance. So I think there's a solution here. I'll stop questions there. The other item I would is in regards to the patio. Was there consideration? I think one of our comments last time was to vary the height of the glass wall, and perhaps making options like the four. Can we go to the best elevation of the patio? There you go. Good. So did you in the idea of dropping little, I think it comes out from the build 3 base. So if you maintain that height for 3 bays off each corner, but then drop the 4 bays down to something, like 3 foot lower than this to provide openness and a choice of patio participant, either get behind or glass, so if there was then if not, sit in front of the lower glass when it's delightful.
Yeah, yes, we looked at a bunch of different options, and this is the one that we preferred. And the curve in the glass was our preferred solution to providing a relief from the straight run, and anything else just didn't look appropriate for us for such a small patio. This is what we preferred.
All right, that's my questions.
Okay, who's next? Okay, well, let's ask a couple of landscape questions. So what is proposed to be planted in front of the glass, at the glass base?
I can take that. We have small hedges, basically. I mean, the one I'm looking at for the corners is kind of the dwarf Raphiolepis minor. And you can see that it sort of frames the corners of the patio. And then in between, I've got a list of options there, such as the lower Nandina, dwarf Nandina, or dwarf Punica. So a couple different options there for plants. We haven't, obviously we're just at conceptual now, so we will establish that further. But the height that we're looking at is, 2 to 3 or 3.5 feet, something like that. So we maintain the views when folks are seated at the tables, but it helps to provide a little feeling of separation from the sidewalk and to the patio.
Okay. And then along the back end of the property, there's some landscaping proposed, I believe, near the fireplace.
Yes, that is an existing planter, basically kind of reshaped. There's a nice guava tree there in that upper left-hand corner that we want to maintain. The previous design had just sort of a sweeping, curving S-curve through there, and since we're sort of modernizing here, we're going with a more rectilinear pattern. But you can see where that queen palm is. As Dawn had mentioned earlier, there is a Coelurteria tree that's sort of right next to that palm, and it reaches out towards the pool. And we want to take that out to help the neighbor with their views, for one thing, and also, lessen the leaf drop in that on the pool deck. And just those two trees growing so close is not appropriate. So make a little more room for the palm, open up some views, and then sort of upgrade the landscape in that corner. There's also you can kind of see the wall there used to sort of zigzag inward towards the fireplace, and we've decided to simply extend that straight back, so that planter is actually going to be do more to help soften that patio and create more separation from the driveway and parking area.
Okay. I noticed that the fireplace kind of bisects that planters. Is there a way to slide the fireplace forward and allow that planter to go behind the fireplace to give it a little extra, and as well as behind the hot tub to give a little extra planted buffer at the property line?
Yeah, we can look at that, but you can see the hedge on the neighbor's property is a very dense ficus hedge, and it's a good 2-3 feet wide, and provides quite a bit of separation between the two properties. And so we didn't really see the need for that, but we can study that a little further.
Okay, can we pan down a little bit so we can see more of the hot tub area? There we go. So there's a trellis, and that's going to be similar to what is proposed on I guess it's the south side of the pool?
Yes.
Same kind of thing?
Yeah, those two elements will talk to each other stylistically and detail-wise.
Okay. All right. I think that's my questions. Does anybody else have anything before we go to comments? No? Oh, sorry, Ms. Anderson, go ahead.
Was there any study with relocating the hot tub to the south side where I think it's the guava tree, or not the guava, but Did you guys study moving that spa to the south side away from the stair?
Yes, we studied all the options, and this was the one that provides the best layout for the use of the space, having the fireplace by the pool and not in the corner, and just worked out better for a lot of different reasons.
And just as a follow-up with the questions about this area, page 2 of the plan set does have some good views that are rendered, so you could see what we're trying to. There we go. In the bottom left there is this area, and it also shows the separation between the Blue Sands and the property to the east that Chris was referring to.
The spa in the corner just provides a little bit more sense of, intimacy for the spa and not being hanging out, exposed on the outside edge of the parking area. And we would push the fireplace more toward the tower, and we wanted the fireplace also to be more centered in that space as well.
And of course, always balancing with these ADA requirements and minimum space and circulations. I think everyone's sensing the constrained site for the Blue Sands.
Yeah. That's my only question.
Okay, anyone else before we go to comments? Nope, okay. Let's move to comments. We could have
I have a
public
comment.
turn their cameras off and mute themselves, please. Before we get into it. Mr. Olson, go ahead.
Yes, as related to the patio area, it seems to me that we're in danger here of overthinking this. It seems like the real issue here is that the owner and the architect are willing to build a patio area that does enhance the view of the building for the drivers by, as well as a usable space for the tourists, and that it may in fact be a temporary addition. And so it seems quite reasonable, and that fiddling with it with a little bit of this and a little bit of that just doesn't seem productive. Those are my comments.
Okay. Do you have any other comments about the rear of the property, just to lodge them?
Yes, I'm concerned for the neighbor, but in fact, I can't find a solution or suggest a solution that improves the situation for the neighbor. I in general, think that the architect and the owner have moved quite well to try to protect the neighbor's views and enjoyment of his own property. So I've listened carefully to him, but I don't find a solution that would serve both parties.
Okay, thank you. Who's next?
Mr. Richard here. I'm one of those fillers with the front patio, and I would like to see the center 4 bays drop down 3 feet to variation, but I won't hold up and won't make an issue out of it. However, in regards, however, I'm convinced that there's easy solutions. The continuation of the eave down, the roof even at the top of the roof even lower than the main roof, or simply, providing the level eaves of this tower down, match the eaves of the eave at the walkway. So I cannot support the stair towers designed. I think that the noise and the nature of the parties and the gas fireplaces and so forth are in the nature of this area, and one has to live with it. Those are my comments.
Okay, who's next? Mr. Black, you had your hand up.
Yeah, yeah. As far as the landscape is concerned, you know, I realize this is a conceptual plan, but I did go through the plant palette as it's being proposed, and I think it's entirely appropriate. I think the way the patio is laid out on the west elevation is appropriate and attractive. I don't see the need to be dropping some panels of the glass separation per se. I think what they've done is attractive. As far as the back, I don't really have an opinion about the stair tower per se. It's obvious. I think the applicant has actually addressed our comments in terms of trying to mitigate the visual impact of the stair tower and has in fact reduced it by a certain amount. And I think that's to their advantage and to the neighbors as far as that goes. So in general, I would say that, you know, overall, they've addressed the comments that we had from the last meeting, and I think it's an attractive project. That's all.
Okay, who's next?
I'll go.
Go ahead.
Chair Moore. I would concur with Board Member Olson and Board Member Black about the patio. I think it sounds like the applicant has done the research to find consistency with that approach. And I would concur with the not fussing with it or not fiddling with it, I think was the word used. I have no comment on the stair tower or the back pool area at this time.
All right. Ms. Anderson or Mr. Whalen, any thoughts, comments?
I would only reiterate those comments of Member Olson. Thank you.
Okay. Anything to add, Ms. Anderson?
No, I agree with Mr. Black on the fact that the applicant really studied the stair tower. I mean, I understand what they're trying to do for the patio and open that up, and I don't know. That's it.
Okay, thank you. My own comments are, I think the street-facing patio is fine. I think with if they can achieve a 36 inch tall landscaping at the base, that's going to cover a large portion of the glass and soften that. At the rear of the property or where the fireplace is, I would ask the applicant to study adding a landscape buffer behind that, and as well as behind the hot tub or spa area, and getting something with some substance back there to help provide a little bit more buffer. The neighbor's hedge may not always be there, and I think it's important for this project to shoulder some of the responsibility to provide some buffer and privacy between the neighbors. I guess I will reserve further comments regarding the stair tower for a future meeting. I'm hopeful that the applicant and the neighbor can continue to work together to arrive at a better solution. All right, so let's go back to the, if staff could put up the item language again. So again, it's concept review. And as Ms. Plummer said, they're really looking for comments regarding the front patio. And I think and this is a question for staff, can we create a motion that is particular to the street patio so that they can continue forward with that process? And can we leave the rest of the project without comment at this time?
Thank you, Chair Moore. It's ultimately up to your discretion. I would suggest you've given some good feedback on the stair tower element. Those comments can be included in the motion. The only thing that we really need to move this forward to the staff hearing officer is comments about the patio, its location in the front setback, as well as the Milpa Street widening setback, and incorporating the criteria from the project compatibility findings. So at the last hearing, you looked at the overall project, you gave feedback about the project compatibility and how it relates to the project for all elements, but not the patio. So we do need that today. So any motion maker should include the location and any aesthetic elements in terms of supportability for that area. And it's fine if you want to include some comments about the stair tower area and anything you want to see come back when this returns. Specifically your comments, Chair Moore, about including a landscape buffer if that's desired by the board.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion?
So, Chair Moore, I'll make a motion. Number one, that the patio designed is aesthetic, acceptable, and provides aliveness to the street, and and that patio meets the project compatibility of findings, that it is consistent with the design guidelines in which it's located. And it is, number two, is compatible with the architectural care of the city and the hood. Given the curve, the types of landscaping and finesse of the design of the uprights of the enclosure. Number three is a minor addition to the mass and scale of the existing building, and the height of the fence adjacent, the height of the glass adjacent to the property line is 5 or 6 feet is appropriate, given that it is planted in the lower 3 feet, does not provide a significant massing and effect to the street. Number four, my computer might be delayed. There we go. As far as the board is aware that there is no adjacent landmarks or historic resources in the area that would be affected. Number five, there is no public views of oceans that are affected. And number six, it is a very appropriate use of open space and landscaping.
I would like to add perhaps something to that, Mr. Six. That I think
Can you hold off until I'm finished with my motion?
I apologize. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Number two, given the new activity at the street and the enhancement of design, that the affected setbacks and right-of-ways that are affected it's reasonable to do so because the aesthetic improvements. Number three, that board members still have problems with the stair tower and the location of hot tub and fireplace to the adjacent affected neighbor. And we'll see further reconsideration of the stair design and a relocation of spa and fireplace to provide an on-property landscape screening. So that would be my motion.
Okay. Do we have
Mr. Olson.
a seconder? Okay, well, I will second that motion. And Mr. Olson, if you have discussion point?
Yes, perhaps just that the compatibility issues that I'm sure the neighbor is going to say that his views are affected. And so I think for us to say they are not is certainly debatable. So perhaps if we said that they are not significantly affected, might help in our interpretation.
Board Member Olson, if you look at the words, it's public views, not private views.
That's correct.
So it is fair to say that public views, the ocean and mountains, are not affected.
Again, I apologize. I see the difference.
Okay, Mr. Whalen, you had your hand up.
Yes, I don't think I heard the last element of member 6's proposal. Could that be reread again, please?
I think it's appropriate to read the whole thing.
The whole motion? Yes, please.
All right. So I didn't catch, was the motion for the project to be continued?
I'm sorry. Yeah, you can to the staff hearing officer and to
Okay, thank
return
you.
and to return to full board after it's at the staff hearing officer.
All right, so then I'll go ahead and read the whole motion back. So the motion is to continue the project to the staff hearing officer for return to the full board with the following comments. Number 1, the patio as designed is aesthetically acceptable and provides a likeness to the street. Number 2, the project compatibility analysis findings were made. And the last point, number 3, is that the board members have problems with the stair tower and location of the hot tub to the adjacent affected neighbor and would like to see further reconsideration of stair tower design and would like to see relocation of the spa and fireplace in order to provide on-property landscape screening.
Yes, Mary, on your, I think the very first item is, you said likeness to the street. That would be aliveness.
Okay, thank you. I can fix that.
And Vice Chair 6, would you accept a little amendment to that first sentence that it's specific to the street patio, not just the patio?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Any other discussion? No? Okay, let's take a vote.
Maybe I do have some discussion. If you have time for a short discussion. I think, Mr. 6, are you asking the applicant to relocate both the fireplace and the jacuzzi spa?
I think we should leave. Well, Kevin, you were Chair Moore, you were the instigator of that idea. Were you thinking both?
I was thinking both just to allow for some planting opportunity along the property line. It's not I don't see it as a giant move or relocation, just a simple edit.
I think the way that the motion is worded, it sounds more like a giant move than I'm comfortable with.
Okay, can we read back that part of the motion?
Yes. So the board members have problems with the stair tower and the location of the hot tub in relation to the adjacent affected neighbor, and would like to see further reconsideration of the stair tower design and relocation of the spa and fireplace in order to provide on-property landscape screening.
That's too much for me. I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay.
I would agree.
Agree.
So as far, if I might speak up, as far as the landscape behind the spa and fireplace, I don't know what the intention of that would be. I mean, when you look at the rendering, the lower left photograph, I'm seeing sort of a diagonal crisscross, which would suggest to me that those are vines, unless it's something other than that, but that's what it looks like to me. And that wall is so high, I don't know whether additional landscape would contribute to screening per se. You've already got what looks to be a 6-foot wall with a hedge behind it. So I'm just not understanding what the intention of that would be or the need for it personally. But
Okay, well, it's in my mind, it's just a good practice to provide a little bit of a landscape buffer along the property line, especially in an area where you're so close to your neighbor. And if it's, especially where the uses are different like this, and especially if there's an opportunity to do that. Currently this is hardscape right up to that fence or whatever tiled feature that is back there.
yeah.
So that's my opinion.
Yeah, sure.
Chair Moore,
Yes.
in order to expedite this, should we take a straw vote to see if the elevation of that requirement from my motion, the motion would pass? Something to that effect?
Well, perhaps we could ask the applicant what that is behind there that we're looking at, that Mr. Black has pointed out, and I don't know what that is either. So maybe that would help with our straw vote.
Okay, yeah, I'll allow the applicant to come on and just answer that question. What is being depicted behind the fireplace? Let's not go too far off, but just what is that? Is that an existing fence? Is that a new wall? What is that?
It's an existing wall, and those are vines growing up in a diagonal pattern on that wall. And David Black is right that we're not understanding why additional landscaping, because of the retaining wall.
Okay, thank you. That's the question answered. Thank you very much. Okay, does that change anyone's opinion? I mean, in my mind, I'm not sure how, so you have ivy or some vine growing in a grid pattern. Where is it growing out of if there's nowhere for it to grow out of? That's my thought as well. So,
Well, perhaps, you know, we could say under David's instruction, how much width would the planter need in front of this wall, between the wall, the spa and the back of the fireplace, in order to vines or some softening? Would 1 foot be acceptable, Member Black?
1 foot's too small to me, but I would say probably 18 to 24 inches.
Yeah, I would happily revise and make my motion more specific to say to provide a 18 to 24 inch wide planter in front of the property, existing property wall, in order to maintain and establish some foundation there.
All the way across?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's acceptable to me. Go ahead, Board Member Noon.
Sorry, Chair Moore, just to clarify, can the applicant clarify again, just clarify, is that this would be new grid or new vine in a grid pattern or not? It's not existing, correct?
It would be a new vine in this grid pattern.
And then does the applicant have a solution for how, like you asked, how's that feasible without landscaping?
Sorry.
I can do that, or Chris can. We had planned on just putting a vine pocket to be able to adhere to the existing wall. And
Okay, thank you. And then, so then to clarify, Chair Black, you would want then the buffer, you want to buffer the patio from the wall, not necessarily from the other property.
Sorry, was that a question directed to me?
I'm sorry, I said Chair Black, I apologize. I meant Chair Moore, forgive me. The buffer that you were referring to, you know, at a property line, since we now know that this is a solid wall, you're saying that the buffer would be there to buffer at that solid wall.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Ms. Plummer, you popped on screen briefly. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Thank you, Chair Moore. No, I was just going to suggest one option is you can amend your motion to say study the option of including a landscape buffer at that area if it's feasible. They might be able to provide more additional information at a later hearing, or you can do a straw vote as one of the board members suggested about who is satisfied with it as currently designed or who would like to include a landscape buffer at that area. That was it.
Okay, thank you.
I like the study idea.
Vice Chair Six, how would you like to proceed?
I would amend to say, provide with landscape buffer to establish vines on existing block wall.
Okay. That's fine by me. I'll accept that. Any other discussion before we?
Well, yes, I'd like clarification of what we've actually said here. So if we could just read that last part of the motion that is regarding the fireplace and the spa.
Yes. So let's see. The board members have problems with the stair tower and location of the hot tub to the adjacent affected neighbor and would like to see further reconsideration of the stair tower design and relocation of the spa and fireplace. Provide a landscape buffer to establish vines on the existing block wall.
No, Mary, I think that to amend that to say to study relocating the, dropping the relocation. What I'm trying to say, the relocation of the fireplace and the spa are only due to move it out to establish enough landscape at the base of the wall. So I think the way you read it, the way you have it structured, it's just to relocate without regards to landscaping, relocate the spa and the fireplace. They relocate the spa and the fireplace in order to establish adequate landscaping at the base of the wall.
Okay, so I have let's see. The fireplace should be fireplace and what? I'm sorry. Fireplace and spa should be relocated in order to establish adequate landscaping at the base of the wall.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Back up to the sentence before that. Is that the board had problems with the stair tower and the location of the fireplace? Would you drop fireplace from that sentence?
Okay.
Now read it from the board members. Some board members have problems.
Okay, let's see. So some board members have, or the board members have problems with the location of the stair tower, the relocation.
Wait. The board members have problems with the design of the stair tower, not the location, the design.
Okay, so I have board members have a problem with the design of the stair tower. The fireplace and the spa should be relocated to establish adequate landscaping at the base of the wall.
I think that covers my intention.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, more?
Yes, that is satisfactory. Okay, if that is the end of discussion, we can take our vote.
All right, thank you. I'll go ahead and start with Chair Moore.
Yes.
Vice Chair Six. I'm sorry, my phone is going off. Vice Chair Six.
Yes.
Board Member Anderson.
Yes.
Board Member Black.
Yes.
Board Member Noon.
Yes.
Board Member Olson.
Yes.
And Board Member Whalen.
I'm going to vote no for disagreement with the final element about the location of the spa and the fireplace.
All right, the motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And all right, so we can move on to item number 3, which is 618 Olive Street. And this is a new item for concept review. And this proposal is for a new multi-unit residence using the average unit size density program. The project entails conversion of the existing 3 apartment units into 4 units by adding a new 2-bedroom Unit B above a new attached 4-car garage. The project includes a 200 square foot addition to connect units C and D as a duplex. The result would be 4 residential units ranging in size from 882 to 1,043 square feet, with an average unit size of 933 square feet. The proposed density on this 10,041 square foot lot is 17 dwelling units per acre on a parcel with a general plan land use designation of commercial industrial with medium high density residential, which allows between 15 to 27 dwelling units per acre. The proposal includes a new trash and recycling enclosure and four bike lockers. The development would have 4 covered parking spaces. This is for comments only, and project requires project compatibility findings and must meet the urban design guidelines. Okay, if we have our applicant ready. Yes, we do. Okay, if you could introduce yourself and take us through the proposal.
All right, thank you. My name's Noah Greer. I'm the architect, and we look forward to getting your conceptual comments. This project, I'd like to jump in, staff, please, to the site context photos and start there. I'll talk a little bit about the area and then get into the project specifics. The project is at 618 Olive on the northeast side of Olive between Coda and Ortega. 3 lots up for Arnoldi's, which is just visible on the right side of the screen there. The lot is a 50 by 200 foot lot. It currently has 3 one-story cottages. You can see there under the red pin. The neighborhood itself has quite a diverse pattern of development and densities. It's clearly a mixed-use neighborhood, and many of the existing buildings are in fact 2 stories, including the adjacent site to the right that you can see there. Thank you. Next slide. We have a number of site context photos. Staff, if you could give these 5 seconds each. Thank you. Pausing here. Just to talk about the nature of development in the neighborhood. I know I used a lot of blues here. It could have been a bit more contrasting, but what I hope contrasts sufficiently is the lightest color blue. Those are the commercial uses that we found in the neighborhood. The darker blues here are various versions of residential, from a residential facility at the bottom of the plan to single and multifamily. So from viewing our site from Olive Street, on the right, we have a commercial use. On the left, we have a single family residential use. Okay, thank you. Next slide. And from here, staff, if you could give each site neighborhood photo about 3 seconds. All right, thank you very much. Clearly, there's a wide variety of architectural styles, uses, and massings. Now, Steph, if we could open the conceptual renders. So starting with this render is looking to the northeast down the existing shared driveway on the left from the street. In the foreground, we have the existing 1-story cottage. Behind it in green with the white trim, that's a proposed 2-story addition. And then behind that, to the left of the image, you're seeing the 2 single-story cottages to remain mostly unchanged. Next slide, please. This next render shows a sort of section through the site where you see the relationship between all the buildings. On the far right is Olive Street, and then the existing 1-story cottage in a sort of like a cream. Behind that in green, the new 2-bedroom, 2-story unit with 4-car shared garage spaces on the ground floor. And then on the left, the 2 existing 1-story cottages. Thank you very much. Okay, and then if we can look at the plan set, please. We can start with slide 2, the site plan. And on the bottom, we have the existing site plan. On the left is Olive Street, so we have our existing one-story cottage to remain on the left. And then in the middle, there's an existing garage to be demolished. And then on the right, you're seeing the existing units. We're calling them C and D. At the top is the proposed site plan, where we're working to demo as much of the existing paving, concrete driveway, et cetera, as possible. And you're seeing in dark gray where we're replacing the existing garage with the new ground floor garage with the new unit above. And then also on the right, between existing units C and D, we're proposing a new addition. It connects the two, but it really just gives each a new master bathroom. The private open yards, we have private open yards for each of the units, but probably more importantly to talk about, we have a common open yard and barbecue space in the middle of the site between the new unit, exactly, thank you, and unit C. We have a proposed trash enclosure at the top of the plan, thank you very much, located behind a new planter to help screen it. And then to the right of that trash enclosure, we have 4 proposed bike lockers. Thank you very much. If we can look at slide 3, please. Very quickly, this is an existing site elevation just to give your board a sense of the kind of scale. Here, again, Olive Street is on the right, on the, let's say, view 3, let's say. Okay, you can see the existing garage to be demoed. Slide sheet 4, please. Okay, and then here in view 3, you're seeing in elevation what we saw in the render earlier. And then if you could slide up to the roof plan, please. I think that helps give you a sense of the proposed and how it lays on the site. Thank you very much. Page 9, please. Okay, so this is the proposed plans for the new unit that's attached to the front unit on the right, view 1. That's the first floor plan. So you're seeing the two-car garages with the entry up to the second floor, which is on the left, 2-bedroom apartment with, on the left there, a private open yard covered patio. Okay, next sheet, please. Again, just a roof plan to sort of explain the idea that we're mirroring the existing hipped roofs that exist across the site. And I have added a gable that opens onto the driveway as the only departure from that. Thank you. View 12, please. Okay, though it's displaying strangely on my screen, the intention here is just to keep the architecture simple. The siding is horizontal siding, consistent with what's existing out there. The trim is simple and utilitarian for this workforce housing project. Thank you. Then sheet 19, please, in that PDF. Oh, just concluding with the landscape plan. Again, Olive Street is on the left. We're trying to maximize the landscaping at the front of the site as much as possible. And again, carve away at the concrete paving wherever we can. So we have been able to introduce a few canopy trees, but in order to provide more height to the proposed landscaping, we do have a number of palms as well. We've also expanded, we've cut away some of the concrete in front of the new proposed trash enclosure, intentionally to provide as much screening of that as possible, especially as it's designed so that it would not really be visible from the street. Okay, and then lastly, here in the middle of the site, you're seeing the paved area between the new garage and unit C, which is landscaped with a new canopy tree and landscaping along the side of unit C. But the intention of that is really to create a functional barbecuing space that can be shared by all the residents. Okay, and if we can close with the concept render 2. Thank you. I hope your board will find that this is a simple design in keeping with the existing nature of the site, and that we really have made an effort to try to expand planted areas as much as possible, while also providing a kind of livable 4-unit urban AUD housing opportunity in the city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And with that, we need to open public comment. Any member of the public would like to address the board about this project, you can follow the instructions on screen and raise your hand. Do we have anybody who wishes to speak?
Thank you, Chair Moore. There are several members of the public that have logged into the webinar. I don't see that they've raised their hands. Just want to give them a moment. If you would like to speak on this item, just please go ahead and click the raise lower your hand icon, and that will let us know that you'd like to speak on this item. In the meantime, while we're waiting for that, Mary, have we received any written public correspondence for this item?
Thank you, Christina and board members. We did receive one letter from Timothy and Lisa Couch. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
And thank you, Mary. At this time, I still see that nobody has raised their hand indicating they'd like to speak on this item.
Okay. Then we will close public comment and go to questions from the board. Who has questions? Mr. Olson, go ahead.
Yes. The description says that there are 4 garages, and then the last sentence says that the development would have 4 covered parking places. That doesn't mean there are 8 covered parking places, does it?
Thank you, Board Member Olson. No, it does not. There are 4 parking spaces proposed, period, consistent with the AUD requirements.
Thank you. That's my only question.
Okay, Mr. Black?
Let's see, a couple questions. One is, did you look at an opportunity to get at least a narrow landscape planter along the driveway at Unit A? It seems a little sterile along there, but.
Thank you, Board Member Black. We were concerned about our minimum clearances. You know, I would be happy to look at that again if there's any way to squeeze it in. We're certainly open to the idea. There was some initial concern that it would be a little tight. But I'm happy to come back having studied that.
Well, you had like 12 inches, you know, just some green edge would be, I think, would be to your advantage, but I appreciate you looking at it. And then I have one other question. So just from a circulation perspective, if I'm in Unit D, let's say, and I'm sharing that 4-car garage and you've got roll-up doors, so if I come into my parking space, what do I do? Do I walk out into the driveway with my clicker and then put the garage door down and then walk to my unit? Because there's no access from inside the garage to the outside without, you know, without the garage doors, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so is that the intent then, that someone would come home, use their remote to open the door, and then they'd have to walk out between the cars into the driveway and then use their remote to close it behind them? Is that correct? Is that the intent?
It is. It is.
Okay. Those are my questions.
All right. Who's next? Mr. Whalen?
Yes, thank you, Chair Moore. A couple of big questions, and this may be as much for staff as Mr. Greer, but I understand that certain zoning regulations call for a different setback from garage than dwelling units. Is that the case on this lot?
Thank you, Board Member Whalen. I can answer that question, although I'm not quite sure I understand the question. Are you saying that parking has a different setback than residential use?
Yes. The short question would be, does this proposal meet with setback guidelines for structures, both garage and dwelling?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Board Member Whalen. This project is, as currently designed, does not need any modifications for any setback requests. So they're not asking for any of those.
Another big move question. Mr. Greer, why connect the two units? Why not continue freestanding as is currently?
Thank you, Board Member Whalen. We found it, that was the initial approach, and we found it difficult to provide the required building separation while also providing the 4 needed parking spaces, while also providing for a common open yard space that met the minimum dimensions. And so it was a simple question of the space that we had between existing unit A and existing unit C.
All right, thank you. If Mr. Bolton, if you could go to sheet titled ABS.1. This is the, I believe you would call it the south elevation. My question is, why are there windows in the garage, and why are they have different locations and types, that is sliders over casements?
Mm-hmm.
The owner had specific requests for adequate windows within the garages. At this point, I'd say there's a lot of flexibility in terms of the function for each of those windows. And at this point, it hasn't been thoroughly studied. That's fair. And I believe Board Member Whalen was referring to the rear elevation of this building.
Yes, you had it. You had it correct there. It would be, yes, that one. And then my last question on Unit D, you're eliminating a window from a bathroom and providing 2 new bathrooms, each without windows. What was behind that decision?
Thank you. The owner felt strongly that the added function of having the master bathroom addition was worth the loss.
All right, those are all of my questions. Thank you, Chair Moore.
All right, anybody else? Vice Chair Six?
Yes, thank you, Chair Moore. So if I'm to understand that this is not, well, I guess my question is, it begs to Mr. Black's question. Isn't there a required 3-foot planting along a drive and a unit, or is that not part of the requirements for this zone or this use? Do we know?
And if I can speak up, Board Member Six, but I do know in studying the constraints of the site, I in fact was surprised to learn of the flexibilities inherent in the MC zone as opposed to the other zones in which I've worked with multifamily.
All right, thanks. Do we have any photos of the nature of the use of the building to the south where the new 2-story unit is going? Do you have any photographs? Or first of all,
we do. Sorry to interrupt. Yes, we do. If staff could go to the site context exhibits, please. And on slide 9, if we can zoom in on photo 1. The site itself, although it appears to be residential, is in fact a commercial use, and you can see a commercial storefront on the right side.
Mm-hmm.
with large doors that open entirely, and there may be a roll-up door behind the glass storefront facade. I'm not totally sure.
So it's commercial. So what portions of the building and what faces of the building are going to be imposed upon by the new 2-story? You don't have any photographs of that, correct?
If we go to the site context photo sheet or page 5, please. If we can zero in on view E. So if you, with reference back to the site plan, you can get a sense of, essentially the new Unit B is proposed in the foreground of this photograph, replacing most of this existing garage, which would be demolished. So you can see in that this gives you a sense for the relationship between the single and two-story portions of the existing adjacent building.
So is that, are there any uses on the ground floor and behind this fence that we see to the left of the garage?
There were none that I witnessed. The building is in fact built to a 0 lot line setback at portions. If we can refer to the site plan, please, staff, I showed the footprint of the existing adjacent towers.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, in regards to that setback, the 3-foot setback to the new 2-story unit, we're not in the game of residential units having the ability to get a variance to move the ground floor garage within 3 feet of the property line, yet the rest of the project has to obey the 5 feet. That's not in this zone, correct?
If I'm understanding you correct, Board Member 6, as in the MC zone, we have, again, far more limited setbacks than we may be used to seeing in other zones.
Okay. And then because we do have windows on that side within 3 feet of the property line, aren't windows less than 5 feet have to be either eliminated or fire protected?
Board Member 6, there's an explicit exception in the code for residential construction allowing openings no closer than 3 feet to a setback, to a property line.
All right, and then my last question is, again, on, doesn't the fire department require that trash enclosures be 5 feet off the property line for fire reasons?
Board Member 6, that is something I've not heard before and be happy to study.
Does staff know?
Thank you, Vice Chair 6. I'm not 100% sure on that. This project did go through one round of completeness review, and they were incomplete for the environmental services, which does handle the trash enclosures. So they're still working out those issues with environmental services about the trash enclosure standards.
All right. Okay, and so I see within that 3-foot setback, you're establishing palm trees in your landscape plan. You think that those are going to fit in that space?
I was led to believe so. Yes.
Okay, those are my questions.
Okay, who's next? Any other questions? No? Okay, let's go to comments. Who'd like to start? Mr. Olson, you sound like you look like you want to say something. But you're muted.
I was muted.
There you go.
I have a comment. So,
Great.
As a really feasible way to provide housing for Santa Barbara in a certain price range, this seems like a very reasonable project, and I support it. I have one comment, and that is that visually the connection as seen from the north elevation between A and B feels very uncomfortable. And I would hope that the applicant might study that connector there to make that more aesthetically pleasing. That's all my comments.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Whalen?
Sure, I will double Mr. Olson's observation. I think it's overall a fine concept. And to reiterate again, I think that's an awkward intersection between Unit A and Unit B and could lead to some water intrusion problems where the eaves meet the crickets and all of that stuff. I think the garage door design could better break down the scale when in fact it might be 2-car door, but it could visually look like a 1-car garage doors. That is keeping in character with the scale of all the other buildings. I would also like to see consistent window types. It occurs to me that all of the existing windows, Unit A, C, and D, are all double hung, while in the new building, it's a mixture, and I don't understand that. I appreciate the projecting bedroom, bathroom on the new building. I think that's an admirable addition. Let's see here. And I would strongly suggest that windows or skylights in the new bathrooms and the existing bathrooms for units C and D be included, just as somebody who has lived in a windowless, airless bathroom, finding it particularly miserable. The location of the palm trees should be carefully placed so that they are not in front of windows of either the existing buildings or the neighboring buildings. And finally, it would be helpful if the photo renderings reflected the adjacent building, because I think the biggest issue of this proposal is the relationship to that building to the south. Even though it is a commercial building, it is very carefully articulated and does have some placement of windows for what purpose we don't know. But it seems that the two buildings, that is the new proposed building and the existing one, need a better relationship to one another, not only their windows, but it does occur to me that that elevation of the new building could use some articulation too. That concludes my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is anyone else? Yep, Mr. Noon, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Moore. I would reiterate or agree with both Board Member Whalen and Olson, and I would add a previous comment by Board Member Black about the landscaping along in front of Unit A along the drive to be added to those other comments.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Is that a finger in the air, Vice Chair Six? Yes, go ahead.
So, more, I think that the existing driveway passing Unit A should be swagged over and the landscaping compromised on the fence side, and introduce landscaping on the base of Unit A along that driveway. Do I need to make sure that the fire department is happy with the trash closure location, because that's a very significant quirk and could be a important repercussions to this very tight and successful site plan. That's an appropriate design for this type of housing. I would, we're not in the job of policing. I would eliminate the windows on the back of the garage. And what did I forget? The one I concur with the location of the palm trees, and or a documentation on the building south. Where's my oh, yes. I think that the introduction of the one gable is it should be kept, and maybe because it's so the project is so consistent, and maybe there's just a slight augmentation to the window on that protruding elevation overhanging to give a little character rather than the gable. Because
Okay. Anybody else? No? Okay. Yeah, I don't really have anything further to add. Then I think it would be helpful to just in a site plan form, locate the windows to the existing building at the south, the neighboring building to the south. Just locate those three windows on the site plan so we can see that the landscape and other windows are responding appropriately to those locations. So, okay, so if staff could put the item description back up for us. So comments only. Project requires project compatibility findings and the urban design guidelines. So question for staff, when it says comments only, that just means it cannot receive any sort of appealable action today, or what does that mean?
Thank you, Chair Moore. That's correct. This project is not ready for any appealable action because their project is not complete yet. So, so the applicant has chosen to come before the board to get comments on their conceptual level design so that they can move forward in their in what they need to do to move the project forward. So the comments are binding though, so it's not a one-time pre-application where the comments aren't binding. This is a case where the comments are binding, and whatever you choose to put on the comments, the applicant should respond to once they are complete and come back to the board.
Okay, thank you. So a motion is required. Somebody like to take a crack at that? Oh, okay. I'll give it a shot. So I will make a motion for a continuance back to the full board with the following comments: that at this time, the project appears to be moving in a satisfactory direction. The overall project is seems to be providing a good solution to providing additional housing in this neighborhood. The board overall feels the project with a few is generally acceptable with a few comments as follows. The applicant shall return with a site plan that depicts the window locations of the southerly neighbor, and that the landscape and window locations on the proposed project respond appropriately to those window locations. That the applicant provide windows that are in keeping with what is existing on site, and that the window types be consistent throughout the project. That the applicant study ways of reducing the apparent width of the garage doors, and that could include studying breaking them into multiple garage doors or to provide detailing that would stimulate that. The applicant shall study the, and I believe it was in particular, the second floor deck location of the proposed unit, as the location is somewhat visibly or visually weak between unit A and unit B at that location. The applicant shall study providing additional landscaping along the driveway side of unit A, if possible, and attempt to provide additional landscaping wherever possible. Okay. Trying to keep it, the motion simple and open at this point.
I'll second that. Chair Moore, under discussion, we need to mention the trash enclosure is the location of the enclosure, or should we let the process handle that?
Well, I mean, I would certainly prefer that it not be right on the property line. I think that's a burden on the neighbor. But if that is an allowable location, then that's fine by me. But I think the process will work that out for us.
Okay, thank you. And
Anything else?
regarding the windows at the back wall of the garage,
Mm-hmm. You were hoping to eliminate those?
yeah,
Okay. Sure, I can include that. Applicant shall study eliminating the windows at the rear of the garage. Okay, anything else?
that's it.
Mr. Whalen?
I would like to include unifying the window types on the new building to reflect the existing.
Okay. I think I said that, but I may not have said it as well as you did. But so we should read the motion back, please.
All right, I'll go ahead and read it back. So the motion is to continue the project indefinitely with the following comments. Number one, at this time, the project appears to be moving in a satisfactory direction. The overall project seems to be providing a good solution to providing additional housing in this neighborhood. The board overall feels the project, with a few comments, is generally acceptable. Number two, the applicant shall return with a site plan that depicts the window locations of the southerly neighbor, and that the landscape and window locations on the proposed project respond appropriately to those locations. Number three, the applicant shall provide windows that are in keeping with what is existing on site, and that window type shall be consistent throughout the project. Number four, the applicant shall study ways of reducing the apparent width of the garage doors. And that could include studying breaking them up into multiple garage doors, or to provide detailing that would stimulate that. Number five, the applicant shall study second floor deck locations of the proposed unit, as the location is somewhat visually weak between unit A and unit B at that location. Number six, the applicant shall study providing additional landscaping along the driveway side of unit A if possible. Attempt to provide additional landscaping wherever possible. Number seven, the applicant shall study eliminating windows at the rear of the garage. And the motion was made by Moore and seconded by Six.
Mr. Olson, go ahead.
I don't understand Mr. Six's request that there be no windows in the garage. It doesn't seem reasonable to me.
It
Perhaps-
invites, I know that we're not policing, but it invites inhabiting these spaces.
I'm sorry, invites what?
It invites illegal habitation of the garages.
It also means that you can be in the garage and have no real light in there. It requires artificial light. And it seems like even if the windows were configured so that they wouldn't facilitate living in there, seems unkind to say that there could be no windows in the garage.
Chair Moore, would you be accepting to change your motion to provide windows at the back of windows at the garage are provided that if windows at the back of the garage are provided that they be appropriate height and type?
What's appropriate? What's the appropriate height?
Well, if they're high and, don't.
How about discourage habitation?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we're getting a little off of our purview there. I'm happy to amend the motion to read that the garage windows shall be eliminated or be small and raised above eye level. How about that?
That's great. I'll second that.
Okay, did we get that from staff? Is that clear?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? No? Okay, let's vote.
All right, I'll start with Chair Moore,
Yes.
Vice Chair Six,
Yes.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Black,
Yes.
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Olson,
Yes.
and Board Member Whalen.
Yes.
All right, the motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And that is it for our 3 items today. So with that, we can adjourn our agenda for August 23rd. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.